Here's a question that's probably crossed your mind more than once lately. Which jobs is artificial intelligence actually going to take first? Not someday, but soon. In the next few minutes, you'll get a clear, honest answer. Which kinds of work are most exposed, why those and not others, and most importantly, what you can do right now to stay on the right side of the change. Let's start by clearing up the biggest misunderstanding. AI doesn't usually walk in and erase an entire job overnight. What it does is automate tasks, the specific repeatable things you do during the day. And almost no job is just one task. Think about your own week. You probably answer messages, fill in forms, make decisions, talk to people, and solve unexpected problems. AI is fantastic at the parts that are predictable, rule-based, and already happening on a screen. It's much weaker at judgment, relationships, and anything physical or messy. So the roles that feel exposed first aren't necessarily low skill. They're the ones built mostly from automatable tasks. That reframes the whole question. Instead of asking whether your title disappears, ask how much of your daily work is routine. That number tells you far more about your real exposure than your job title ever will. So where does that land us? Across the economy, 5 kinds of roles keep showing up at the front of the line. Data entry and admin work. Tier 1 customer support, the scripted, frequently asked question side of it. Routine, high-volume content writing. Basic bookkeeping and transaction processing, and entry-level coding and testing. Notice the pattern connecting them. Each one is dominated by tasks that are structured, repetitive, and digital. None of these fields vanish completely, but the routine layer inside them shrinks fast. Over the next few slides, we'll walk through each one, look at what's actually being automated, and pin down exactly where a human still makes the difference. First up, data entry and administrative work. This is the clearest example because the job is by definition moving structured information from one place to another. Copying numbers from an email into a spreadsheet, updating a record, routing a request to the right queue. Software handles this now, instantly and without fatigue. Scheduling and simple coordination fall into the same bucket. A tool can read an incoming request and slot it where it belongs. But here's the part people miss. The exceptions don't go away. Somebody still has to handle the weird cases, the data that doesn't fit the template, and the judgment call about what an unusual request really means. That's exactly where your value moves. Second, Tier 1 customer support. The reason this gets automated early is simple economics plus predictability. A huge share of support tickets are the same handful of questions. Where's my order? How do I reset this? What's your refund policy? Those follow clean patterns, and automated systems answer them instantly, around the clock, which customers genuinely appreciate. But escalate one level and the picture changes completely. An upset customer, a complicated billing dispute, a conversation about whether someone stays or cancels. Those need empathy, flexibility, and real authority. If you work in support, the path forward is moving up the complexity ladder toward the conversations that truly require a person. Third, routine content production. Templated, high-volume writing is fast and cheap to generate now. Product descriptions, summaries, simple recaps, first drafts of just about anything. Reformatting the same information for a website, an email, and a social post used to eat hours. Much of that is automatable today. But notice what AI doesn't have: original reporting, a genuine point of view, a distinctive brand voice, and the editorial judgment that decides what's worth saying at all. The writers who thrive aren't competing with the machine on volume. They're bringing the ideas, the taste, and the trust that make content worth reading in the first place. Fourth, basic bookkeeping and transaction processing. Sorting transactions into categories and reconciling routine entries is highly rule-based, which makes it a natural fit for automation. Software can label most everyday transactions, match records against each other, and quietly flag the ones that don't line up, continuously in the background. What it can't do is sit across from you and explain what the numbers mean for your business, advise you on a tricky decision, or untangle a genuinely unusual situation. The routine data handling layer of accounting is shrinking, but the advisory layer, interpretation, strategy, judgment, is becoming more valuable, not less. Fifth, entry-level software and testing tasks. This one surprises people, but a lot of day-to-day coding is repetitive. Boilerplate, glue code, and well-documented patterns that have been written 1,000 times before. AI drafts that quickly. Routine testing, the same predictable checks run over and over, is also easy to automate and scale. What stays firmly human is the hard part, designing how a whole system fits together, debugging the genuinely confusing problem at 2 a.m, and deciding what's even worth building. The lesson across every one of these categories is identical. The routine layer gets automated, and the judgment layer becomes where careers are made. So what do you actually do with all of this? 3 moves. First, audit your tasks. Write down what you do in a typical week and honestly mark which parts are routine, digital, and repeatable. That's your real exposure in black and white. Second, automate the routine yourself. Don't wait for it to happen to you. Hand the predictable work to AI tools so you free up time for the things that matter. Third, double down on what's hardest to automate. Strategy, relationships, creativity, and solving the problems nobody has seen before. Do those 3 things and automation stops being a threat and starts being leverage. If this was useful, subscribe for a new AI tip every week.